Welcome back to my channel. Today is an exciting video. It's one of my favorite types of videos to do. I've noticed I actually really enjoy doing reading vlogs. I have had this video planned out for a little bit. I knew for a while I wanted to do a reading vlog when I started this book, and as you can see by the title of this video, I will be reading ACOTAR. If you didn't know, ACOTAR is the acronym for the book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I believe I mentioned in my last video that I am very in a fantasy mood right now, so what better time than to finally get into this book. I read a little bit of fantasy when I was younger and dystopian, but now in my adult years I haven't fully gotten into that yet. This book is actually a whole series, and I believe right now there are 5 books, or like 4 full books and 1 novella, and this is the first one. And this one, from what I picked up on in various videos and things on TikTok and all of that, this is a fantasy romance. It's also a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I am going in pretty blindly because I feel like with something like this, I don't want to know too much. I feel like sometimes when you know too much of a storyline, it is very easy to not enjoy it as much. I think the only thing I really know is like a name from this book, but other than that I don't know too much. I have heard that the second book is a lot better, and a lot of people say to not judge the entire series based off this one book, which will be hard, but I will keep that in mind while reading this. I do hope I enjoy it. I am a bit nervous. I know it's very popular, which is another reason why I'm nervous. Sometimes when a book is too popular, your hopes are too high, and I don't know if my hopes are high, but my hopes are definitely, I do have a bit of expectation. I do think I will at least like it. I just don't know if I will love it. I have mentioned before that I did get this book used, and I only spent $5 on this book, so even if it isn't too amazing, I didn't commit too much into the book. Like, I will feel okay about that. I don't know if this is gonna have spoilers. Whatever the title says is either spoiler free or I'll just have spoilers at the end. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay guys, I just finished reading the first chapter. I didn't want to do an update this early, but I wanted to get my thoughts out before I forgot. What I'm going to say is all already on the back of the book. The very first sentence at the back of the book says, when 19-year-old huntress Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retribution. The first chapter is when Feyre kills this wolf in the woods. That is basically the entire first chapter. But I just realized literally the front of this book is a wolf with an arrow, and that's how she killed this wolf. But yeah, our main character, female main character, is Feyre. So we've been introduced to her. I believe the entire book is in her point of view. I will update you guys once I have something a little more interesting to update you on. But yeah, as I said, only 1 chapter in. Hello friends, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I am sick. I have been sick for a couple days. My daughter was sick before me. I think she's just getting over it. I honestly think it's because of the whole air quality thing that was going on. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's get into it. A Court of Thorns and Roses, ACOTAR. I am not even halfway through the book. I'm on page 138. Page 138, chapter 16. I really like the show Game of Thrones, and this kind of reminds me of it a little bit because it's like, you know, you have the different courts and the different like kingdoms. That's how I would think of it. Like, it reminds me of like the different kingdoms in the Game of Thrones. So Feyre, the main character, the main female character in this book, she definitely gives off like a strong independent female character vibe. She was someone who was taking care of her family a lot and didn't get a lot of help. Also, we have Tamlin, who is the guy who I would say is like the beast, I guess. He is part of like the High Fae, which is part of like the fairy realm. Everyone on TikTok calls him Tampon, so that already gives the vibe that people don't like him. And I've heard of one character's name already, so I know a lot of people like him. I feel like crap. I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get in later, but I would prefer if I can get to 200 pages tonight, because I wanna see what's gonna happen. I want to be introduced to more characters. I feel like right now we only know like 2 or 3 other characters other than Feyre. I'm liking the book. I like the world. I like the vibes. Hello guys. I'm still sick. I read a ton more yesterday and I read a ton today. I am now on page 249. So I'm on chapter 28. I just finished chapter 27. With that, let me say chapter 27 does have like the slightest bit of spice. What I've heard, the amount of spice per book tends to increase. I try to avoid reading spice, but I'm okay if it's not too graphic or too descriptive. I will just skip that chapter or skip that section of the chapter. And I have so much to say. I did want to add some things that I feel like I could have mentioned earlier as well. Number one, I love Lucien. He is hilarious. I can tell that he really cares about Feyre, but then he has like that demeanor where he's like one of those just like sarcastic people. I just love sarcasm. So another character in this book that was recently introduced around this time was Rhysand. The first scene that he was introduced in, his name was not even mentioned, and I knew right away it was him, simply because of the things that I've seen online. I gotta say, he needs some redemption. I know that he is a fan favorite, and so far he doesn't seem like a nice person. I'm assuming that he will show his true self, or whatever the heck everyone is so in love with will show up at some point. But let me tell you, I am definitely scared for whatever might be coming from Tamlin, because once again, I had never even heard this guy's name before getting into this book. So that alone just tells me he's not even close to being a fan favorite. The book did start to pick up around the time that I last updated you. So around the 130 page mark, the book started to pick up a lot more. I personally don't feel like the book was necessarily dragging. I kind of understand why it felt slow for some people, because there's world building. Like there's just so much being set up at the beginning. So I kind of understand why it felt like that, but it wasn't in a way that I didn't like. And I feel like I also am understanding the book very well. For someone who doesn't really read fantasy, sometimes yes, I have to reread things or like refer back. I would say for anyone who's new to fantasy to do exactly this too, because it's helped me a lot. But I am tabbing the book, but what I did was I chose a specific color or like certain information that I thought would help me when it came to the world building, and that maybe I can refer back to. That helped me a lot. Also, one thing I love about fantasy books is the map, and this helps a lot. I'm loving this book. Honestly, I was eating it up for the last 24 hours, and I'm ready to eat it up more. I'm worried that this series is gonna ruin my entire TBR for this month, because when I read series, I like to just keep reading the series. I hate starting new books because sometimes you have to get into it. It depends on the author's writing, how fast you can get into it. Okay, I had to do a bit of an update. I'm definitely gonna finish this book today. Just like I hoped, I'm definitely gonna finish it. I did read a bit this morning and just now as my daughter is sleeping, and I am now on page 367 right now. Honestly, I can see why people like Rhysand. However, I still am a little bit iffy based off certain things, not just with him, but also with Tamlin. I'm kind of like wondering about the both of them because I don't really understand either of them's motives. I just feel like both of them have like secrets for sure. I also wanted to mention that I've heard a lot of people talk about the riddle in this book around the end of the book, and some people say it was really easy to figure out. I don't feel like I'm really that good at riddles. I've had like guesses, but I'm also not entirely sure. I would definitely say if you're someone who just wants to read like fluffy romance throughout the whole book, like romance does not overpower this book. You guys, for the people who have read this book, let me just say, page 393, I literally had to stop reading and come to my bed because I needed a second to like process. Let me just say, I knew that the third person, if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about. I literally just saw a specific name and I was just like, I literally closed the book. I was like, I don't know. I started reading back the pages. I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, I can't say too much. I'm literally tripping right now. Good morning, guys. I finished A Court of Thorns and Roses last night. So for starters, I gave this book a 5-star. I think that would shock a lot of people because I think a lot of people rated this book like a 3 or a 4 because it's the first book. But for me, I absolutely love this book. One thing that I really enjoyed was it didn't end on a cliffhanger. I do sometimes like cliffhangers, but sometimes I don't. This didn't end off on a cliffhanger, but it did end off with some loose ends that weren't tied up, allowing the reader to want to continue reading the series. There were certain things about the ending that I definitely expected. A lot of people say this is like a Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling, and I could see in certain areas how it is, but I wouldn't go into this hoping for like some Disney princess type of like Beauty and the Beast. Absolutely not. They're just like certain elements that are very similar to Beauty and the Beast. Honestly, I feel like I followed along really well with this book. But if you're someone who's not a big fantasy reader and you're worried about getting into fantasy because of like the world building and the names, just keep going with it because at some point everything is gonna make sense no matter what. Like, I truly believe that. It's very easy to follow. There's a lot going on in this one book. Like, to think that this book is only 416 pages and so much went on. I can't even imagine what the next books are like because I believe the next one is 500 or 600 pages, and then I think it continues getting a bit larger except for the little novella after the third book. I'm definitely picking up the next one today. Honestly, this series probably just ruined the rest of my TBR for the month. I'm probably gonna have to read the series and like try to get the rest of my TBR in the middle. But anyways, I'm gonna end my little wrap up right here. I'm gonna continue with the spoilers, so if you're someone who hasn't read this book and you don't want any spoilers, thank you for watching. Please like this video, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Now for my spoilers. Where do I even begin? And when I started this book, I went into this book thinking that Rhysand was gonna be the main love interest. I see everyone talk about him on TikTok, so I was really confused, and I'm still confused about the fact that at the end, when Tamlin was the one that was under the bag for the people that she had to kill, was it not him the entire time? Every time he was like sitting up on the throne stoic, like looking stoic, was that not him all the time, or was he really trying to not like show his emotion? I did expect her to become a fairy at the end. I'm really not surprised about that at all, because it just reminds me of like when you read like things like Twilight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.